Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the finals for the junior team here in the coastal region, and the motion of the day reads, democracy is an idea whose time is up in Africa. I read the motion again. Democracy is an idea whose time is up in Africa. Proposing and opposing this motion is St. Charles Lwanga Secondary School versus Matuga Girls High School. All the best to both teams. Team proposition, first speaker, you have 3 minutes.
My name is Margaret Akoth from the St. Charles Lwanga Secondary School, hereby to strongly propose the motion that states democracy in Africa is an idea whose time is up. What is democracy? A system of governments in which major undertaking over states is directly or indirectly decided by the people. What is an idea? A thought or suggestion as to a possible course of action. Time is up. What's actually the meaning of it? Period of action, maybe a week or monthly basis, is up. Period of time allowed for something is ended. But leaders in democracy misuse it. Let's take a look in matters of embezzlement of funds. E.g., there's no roads developed. Do you know what? Actually, matters concerning democracy leads to many leaders taking the money. And when the money is just gone, where can we get the money to build the roads? Actually, where can we? Money for the old. Us being old, or anyone being old, does that mean that that particular person is not supposed to be given their money? Actually, they have endless needs. And when democracy is brought upon, actually their money is actually squandered by the leadership or the people who are giving the money. Do you know what? I actually don't think that thing is right, according to me. There is misuse of power, where misuse of power through corruption, where leading to no proper medical care. When there is no proper medical care, let's take a look at it. We have many sick people. We have sick people, people suffering from cancer, diabetes, you can name it. You know what? No proper medical care. Actually, there's a time that you had a case of one of our students actually having an asthma. And when we took the poor student to the hospital, oh my God, you know what? Through corruption. Oh. Through corruption, you know what? It actually makes me shiver because I don't know even where can I get the blankets? Because who can come and actually save us from this? My dear humble audience, I will actually request you to come join me or join our proposing team into strongly, but not proposing this motion, but strongly proposing this motion that says democracy in Africa is an idea whose time is up. I rest my case.
First speaker, team opposition, you have 3 minutes.
The question of democracy in Africa is nowadays a debate that diverges schematically the political scientists. Democracy actually comes from 2 Greek words, demos, which means people, kratos, which means power of people. In simplicity, democracy is the power of people. Democracy is expressed in different aspects. We have the aspect of democratic, social aspect of democracy, we have the political aspect of democracy, we have the economical aspect of democracy. Democracy is also practiced in different ways. We have direct democracy, indirect democracy. Direct democracy is whereby a group of people, the citizen, come together to discuss a social problem affecting them. Like we have the chiefs barazas. Indirect democracy is whereby us citizens elect representatives to represent us in various places in the government. to represent us in the parliament, to represent us in the Senate. In Africa, what is practiced most is indirect democracy. Despite the challenges, democracy has made significant progress in Africa over the past few decades. Many countries have successfully transitioned from authoritarian rule to democratic rule. A good example is South Africa. South Africa suffered politically and economically during presidency of Jacob Zuma, but now has the chance to bounce back after the governing African National Congress, ANC, voted to reform under the President Cyril Ramaphosa. Right now, South Africa's democracy has helped in improving the quality of lives of millions of people in ways that are unimaginable and apartheid. Democracy once again. South Africa, during the time of the rule of Jacob Zuma, they suffered economically. But look at them right now. They were able to elect their leaders. They are able to choose a leader who's going to guide them. And right now, most lives of South Africans have actually been changed through democracy. Another thing, did you also know that most of corruption cases have actually been brought to light in democratic countries than authoritarian states? This is through the help of our citizens and NGOs. So, we all know of Ferdinand Waititu. Ferdinand Waititu was the former governor of Kiambu County. And in January 29, 2020, he was impeached. Why? Because he was corrupt. Prime property belonging to Cecilia Mbugua was fraudulently transferred allegedly to his wife through the office of the governor himself. Without democracy, think about it. Without the MCAs are the ones who sat in Senate and impeached the governor because of his corrupt behaviors. Without them, what will happen? So, Samia Hadia, speaking from Matuga Girls, strongly oppose the motion that says democracy is an idea whose time is up in Africa. Thank you.
Second speaker, team proposition, you have 3 minutes.
Speaking is Jimmy Zembei Peter from St. Charles, Lwanga, here to strongly propose the motion that states democracy in Africa is an idea whose time is up. Time is up for the democracy. I like the way she has said that democracy is the power of people. But it isn't the power of people. Democracy is it is a way that gives a chance to the people to have a say on what the leaders have decided, not the power. They don't have the decision. They don't make the decision. They are the leaders that make the decision about democracy. Let's take, for example, of this. In autocratic, which is a form of government that is in Uganda, Honorable Mr. Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who was born in the 15th September of 1944, has been a president for almost 47 years. Have you ever heard of the protesting? No. If it is there, then it isn't as effective as in Kenya. Let's take a good example of this. Last week, schools in Mombasa and Nairobi had to be closed, especially the day schools, because of the demonstrations done. Because these people, they believe they have the chance to say, they are given the part of saying what is needed to be done in the government, which is wrong. Which is wrong for me. Very wrong. Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, as I can refer for this example, he's the one that makes all the decisions. He can say, this country should do this and that, and nobody will say anything else about that. But in Kenya, this leads to what is saying, which leads the demonstrations they're leading for the opposition, by the opposition leader, Mr. Raila Odinga. The protesting causes the death of people, destruction of property, insecurity that is. And even if we continue talking about this, the thing of democracy, I'd agree with you. What you're saying might be right. But if I continue agreeing with you, then we'll all be wrong. So I won't. The other thing is that let's not judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. Because if we do that, then it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. So, criminally, in political system, 43% of those who won national parliament seats at 2019 general election has been charged with a crime of some kind of. Let's take a good example in Kenya, whether the opposition leader won or not, but even if you are a leader and you have the chance to say what is supposed to be done, is this giving us a positive effect for us being democratic? Let us just try and think. Is it giving us a positive effect for us, the students? Do we have to stay at home just because of the effect of democratic government where we have the say to say anything? For that, let's call a spade but not a big spoon. Thank you.
Second speaker, team opposition, you have 3 minutes.
Since colonization, our people have been fighting. They've been fighting for us. Since colonization, we have been fighting to have a government of our own, a democratic government. So why would you come and tell us that democracy is an idea whose time is up if people shed blood so that you can have democracy in here? I'm Coletta Kokonya from Matuga Girls, and I'm here to strongly oppose the motion that democracy in Africa is an idea whose time is up. We all know democracy promotes equality. A good idea is our president, Dr. Samuel Ruto. I'm telling you that democracy promotes equality because everybody, despite their background, everybody is able to vie for a position. We hear Ruto every time talking about his background. He tells us how he walked barefoot for many years and sold peanuts in order to earn a living. This person who sold peanuts right now is the president of our country through democracy. Because it enables everyone. Everyone has a chance. You, me, we all have a chance. We can vie for position because of this democracy. In democracy, citizens are involved in decision makings. An example is the BBI, the Building Bridges Initiative. It was proposed by His Honorable, the former President Uhuru, and his partner, Raila Odinga. This, through indirect democracy, the citizens were given a choice whether they support BBI or oppose it. And most of them opposed BBI. Through our MPs who were able to oppose BBI and the constitution was not amended, we remained with what we have, and that is what the citizens wanted. It enables us to elect leaders who have been through problems, thus understanding us and helping us. I'll go back to His Honorable the President. We all know of the Hustler Fund, right? The Hustler Fund, it helps people to engage in small businesses because most Kenyans are jobless. We all engage in small businesses like ule mama mboga pale, you know them. The Hustler Fund has been able to provide a capital for these people. How did the president know of this? We know the president has been through this. He has been hawking peanuts half of his youth so that he can earn money to go to university. So he knows the pain, anajua. That's why he has been able to start the Hustler Fund to be able to give these people a capital because he has been there. So I don't see the point of saying that democracy is an idea whose time is up. If we get all these merits from democracy, why would you want to take a good thing away from us? That is all I have to say. Thank you.
Team proposition, third speaker, you have 3 minutes.
Catherine Musenya, St. Charles Lwanga Secondary School, proposing the motion that states democracy in Africa is an idea whose time is up. Oops. I have to disagree with the second opposer. That's, do we have to shed blood so that we have leadership? Tell me. For example, His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto, who is the current president now of Kenya, he gave false promises, and you all know that he said in his first 100 days he will improve the living standards of Kenyans. How has he improved their lives? We are now striking just because of the high living standards that we are now facing. We cannot access a packet of unga. Remember the people who are in rural areas. They cannot access medical facilities just because of the current president now. And we say that we have democracy. Really, we should have democracy now? I strongly disagree. Okay, to the question that was asked, how will leaders get to know the problems that facing the citizens? We have newspapers, we have podcasts, we have the WhatsApp, we have the internet. We also have the media, which gives current news every day on what is going on in the country. And to my first point, due to this so-called democracy in Kenya and Africa, there's misuse of power. How has it been misused? Due to democracy, no single power can control the misbehavior of small leaders. Which misbehavior? Nepotism. We have the Honorable Kawira Mwangaza just a few days there, who is the currently governor of Meru County. There was a motion in the parliament to impeach her, just because of employing her husband. Yeah. Let's call a spade and not a big spoon. We'll all love giving opinions, but it is a lot better if we have leaders who give us direction. Let us embrace changes so that we can change the whole Africa. Look at the Europe continent, which is well developed than Africa, just because of this so-called democracy. Well, let's join hands to find solutions to this thing so-called democracy by solving it using an autocratic government, rather than just sitting here and ignoring the true facts. Thank you.
Third speaker, team opposition, you have 3 minutes.
Aye. It pains me. You know, I don't expect this level of betrayal from fellow Kenyans, Jimmy, especially from you. I didn't expect this. I thought you understood me. I thought you cared. I didn't expect this from you at all. You have hurt me beyond measures. I am a Mama Mboga. The only way for me to get power, a voice, is through democracy. It is through me fighting, vying, voting for the leaders I want, leaders who can understand me. Jimmy, why do you want to take this power away from me? Why do you want to take my power away from me? It is the only source of power I can get. Through democracy, I can get people who actually cater for my needs. Why do you want to take this power away from me? I am Deborah Karembo, an opposer from Matuga Girls, and I'll be proudly and strongly opposing the motion that says democracy is an idea whose time is up in Africa. You know, I like this character in Inheritance, Bengo Zenmelo. He says he is fighting for the Kutula Republic, a Kutula Republic whereby the poor will be the masters and not the slaves. How do we expect the poor to be the masters and not the slaves? Except through democracy. If you don't want a democratical government, what do you want? A dictatorial one, a monarchical, or an aristocratical government for us? Which one do you want? Do you want to take us back to the days of Idi Amin Dada in Uganda? That's what you want for Kenya. That's what you want for Africa. Those days are gone. And it actually pains me to hear people talking about the undevelopment in areas. They're actually owing this to democracy. No. Why are we not looking at the positive sides of democracy? We are only viewing this on the negative sides. We have a good example. Salim Mvurya, Honorable Salim Mvurya, the past government of Kwale County, governor of Kwale County. A lot of students benefited from his rule. And how? We got bursaries. We got students educated. We had leaders who actually feel us, who actually feel our pain. We have Mama Achani there. If you go through history, Mama Achani came from a very humble background. And how does she know that we need education as students? How does she know that some students can't cater for their education? Because she was once there. And how did she get into power? Through democracy. So I feel like you guys should just switch sides. You know, you're saying we should just call a spade and not a big spoon. I actually agree with you, you are right. So can you please cross over to the other side? And please, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. I believe that we are just 60 years old from independence. You do not expect us to be competing with the United States in development and urbanization. We begin slowly through democracy. Democracy gives voice to the people, and we actually get our power through democracy. I rest my case.
Team proposition, you have 1 minute to give your closing remark.
Just to remind you, I'm Jimmy Nzembe Peter from St. Charles Lwanga. As she has stated, while I like the comment, I do like it. But when I saw you the first time, I saw a potential wife. But the time that I heard you that you are opposing this motion, oh, it really hurts me. You feel me, right? I guess I'll have to remain single for the rest of my life. But time is up. Time is up. Oh, I'm sorry. Did the middle of my sentence interrupt the beginning of yours? Somehow, maybe. Okay. It is high time we get rid of this democracy if Africa has to be on the same position as other continents. So I'll say that, please, with all humble, so that you can come and meet Jimmy. Join our side to strongly propose this motion that states democracy in Africa is an idea whose time is up. Thank you.
Team opposition, you have 1 minute to give your closing remark.
Mtakula nini? Do you know that you're actually practicing democracy because your parents are actually involving you in decision making? One day in your school you wake up, all of you are preparing for elections. We also have elections in school, right? You are preparing, you say, I want to be the entertainment prefect. Then your chief principal is announcing in the assembly, there is no vying, there is no election. The leaders are already selected. Most of you wouldn't agree to that and will strike. Is it right? Am I right? Yes. Democracy is there for us to choose our own leaders. We have that guy from St. Charles Lwanga. You asked the benefit. The second speaker spoke about the benefits of democracy. You must have applied listening skills. She said democracy helped. Democracy helped in denying BBI the opportunity to rule our country, right? Another example by the third speaker. We also got a chance to have people getting funds from the government. That is also a benefit for us from democracy. So what I'm trying to say, democracy should not be taken away from us. We must have a voice to decide what is wrong, what leaders we want to have a better society. Thank you.
All right, we want to appreciate the two teams for the quite entertaining debate, especially towards the end. Something picked up and we could tell the audience was well engaged. And this being the junior teams from Mombasa region, it's commendable. Now, I have to do what I have to do though and look through the motion and just point out a few things for you. Now, democracy is an idea whose time is up. Are there examples? A lot of them, because we have many countries that use this system of governance. We also have many others that don't at all entertain democracy. So there could have been many examples across the world, because you're not limited for your case studies. Let me start with St. Charles. I want to appreciate the definition of terms as you started. And I like your disgust on corruption. We could feel you even on your speech saying how disgusted you are at these particular things, because you're trying to allude to the fact that democracy really has allowed a lot of corruption. Now, You spoke about this, and I want to quote you that embezzlement of funds, many leaders take away the money. And especially you mentioned about the old people's money. And I think you were trying to give an example of Kenya. It is always good to always give your facts whenever you're giving any example. Like say, for example, in Kenya, which is a democratic nation, all right? And then you have to give your source where you're getting that. And say, for example, this amount of money is allocated to the old. However, only have made it there because of this and that, and give your source. So a lot of the statements that you were giving could actually could be cancelled out because there is no source. Of course, you are assuming that here it's general knowledge, but even for the people who are watching and even the people around who could watch this away from our borders, they could think, are you just cooking these figures? And of course, the people in government could question you as well. So you want to always ensure that you are doing that. For the second speaker, Jimmy, I think you also gave in a spirited fight, but your example of Uganda could be cross-examined because I think you came out with an example, with an allusion that Uganda is not democratic. Somebody will argue with you and say, no, they are. In fact, they conduct elections. So it's an assumption you could be making that because probably the sitting president has been there for long, or this one is not a democratic nation. Someone will tell you they are because they even conduct elections. As and when you want to question that, people have their own perceptions, but hey, so it's a weak example. I would have given you, I would have actually urged you to look for a better example that we know this country, for example, is not or is, all right? So you give the example of demonstrations that we can't all agree, which is true. However, in debate, we always say that a debate is always based on evidence-based arguments. So you must always look for sources to show that you've done your research and then come up with very strong facts based on your researches. So it's very important to always embolden that, even as you're heading towards your seniors. So that ending, you only have 60 seconds. When you start discussing about home affairs on your 60 seconds, my friend, because you only give us your final point in about 10 seconds. So the other ones was about how you probably have found a wife or not. You get it? So you want to be very careful with that. So at least you use your time for the better. Catherine, I think you're such a bold speaker. That's what I picked from you. You're a bold speaker, and that's commendable. And you brought in a very strong point of misuse of power. And you gave an example of nepotism. However, the exact example you gave of the Meru governor, who she was acquitted, by the way, she was not found guilty, all right? So that could be cross-examined. Of course, people, the point was made that, listen, you should not use your position of power or misuse your position of power to bring in such elements. So, and I think it was a good example. However, we want to qualify it by not just, being the judge here because other people didn't find her guilty. There were false promises. You brought in a point on false promises of high living standards, and you mentioned the president. However, where are the facts? Because somebody will say, hey, you were just throwing statements like anybody on the street, so you want to give facts, all right? Matuga girls, definition as well, very good. I like the enlargement of the definition. The South African example, any sources? It was a very good example, but any sources, all right? You said they're doing very well, but somebody here will criticize you and say they're not. In fact, as late as of today, if you check the news, we are calling it a failing state. It's on the verge of, all right, because of some of the things that are happening. So you want to give your sources. Democratic states expose more corruption. That was a good example, all right? You want to qualify them with examples because we have certain institutions put in place for such kind of things. That would be better, all right? Then I think you meant Ferdinand Waititu. Also tell us who that one was. Don't just assume that we know. All right, Coletta, good speaker. I think you want to know the first name of our president well, all right? Not some, I think so, all right? Ideas come from democratic systems that allow persons to get to the presidency. Yes, and I think that was a good example of showing how the president came to power. Deborah, good start. I think you're a good speaker as well. I think I listened to you all through. It was a very well role played in terms of a third speaker. That the poor can be masters through democracy. And I think that was a very good allusion of what Coletta was trying to bring aboard. So all the best to the two teams. We'll wait for the results.